What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here, and in this video I talk about the 5 biggest lessons I've learned Walmart two-step dropshipping on myself. It's very challenging. It's been challenging, at least, especially if you haven't been boots on the ground. But I'm going to show you today how to make it easier for you, as I've pioneered through this thing, and I'm going to show you my biggest lessons. So I might throw in a couple bonuses just because I love you guys, but I'm fired up for this. I hope you're fired up. Let's do this. Okay, so here we are in the back end of the software that I use. It's called Ecom Circles, and this is what I'm using to manage the entire store. But what I'm going to show you guys is and talk about is the 5 biggest lessons I've learned since I began two-step dropshipping. So you want to pay close attention, particularly if you want to two-step dropship and you want to take all these lessons to heart. That way you can implement them in your business and hopefully have a much easier time than I did. So we'll go ahead and get started with those. But I do want to remind people that if you want to do this for yourself or have it done for you, my email is below in case you do want to jump on a call and talk about the different available options that you have in order to get your store started with my help or with the help of a full team that does full on automation. But let's go ahead and jump into those lessons. So lesson number 1, and this should be like, duh, right? But most of us that don't ship things aren't going to know this. A lot of us that do get multiple packages will know this, but the simple number 1 lesson that you can learn from this and that I've learned is that you don't necessarily have to use boxes. So this is something that I'm very commonly asked for. People are always like, okay, well, you're reshipping the stuff. Once you get the package from Amazon, what do? Do you get a new box? Doesn't it cost a lot of money to use these boxes since you're having to ship it back and forth and so forth? And the answer to that is that you can ship most things in these shipping bags. So here I'm on Amazon. I'm looking at these shipping bags, and you'll notice that for a 12 by 15 by 500 pack is $15.80. That's about 15 cents a bag. That's not a lot of money. The ones or the sizes that I usually carry are the 12 by 15.5, this 10 by 13, the 19 by 24 is the largest one, and then the 14.5 by 19. And that pretty much, you can get these 24 by 24, but you won't need them that often. As you can see, they're 27 cents per bag, but that would be how I would round it out. So it's the 12 by 15 by 5, the 10 by 13, the 19 by 24, the 14.5 by 19, and the 24 by 24. If you get those 5 sizes, you should be all set, and pretty much you can ship anything. They show here that they're shipping like this shirt, but realistically speaking, I put a lot of big things in them. Like, for example, today I just shipped out an entire backgammon set. So backgammon set went out. Some kind of griddle for pancakes was shipped out, but also a lot of clothing, things like that. You can even put really anything in them. Like, you'll also need bubble mailers, but for the most part, I use those and they work out really well. As you can see, they're like 15 cents a pop. So that's only going to cost you 15 cents to repackage it. It's blank. The customer will never know it came from Amazon. You cannot reuse the Amazon ones or the Amazon boxes because they have the Amazon logo on them. So obviously people are going to know. So that's the number 1 biggest lesson that I can share with you here. Now, another thing that you will need that I do use for a lot of supplements, especially when people order multiple supplements, is a couple sizes of small boxes. I usually buy these by the bundle on Walmart, but if I run out, there's a Staples a couple miles from me. So I'll just carry these, and they're enough to have multiple bottles, like 2 to 3 bottles can fit in this box. So this is what I use to reship supplements and things that sell like that, or smaller things. There's one that's a little bit bigger. A lot of times I sell a lot of mirrors, so I'll put the mirrors in there because you can't put them in the shipping bag. They're possibly going to break. So that's the first biggest lesson. The second biggest lesson is that when you estimate shipping for yourself, and I'll kind of show you a couple of examples of some things that sold where the shipping was a lot lower than what was expected. On this particular item right here, you'll notice here that the software estimates the shipping for you. Right here, it's $8.85. This thing is going to Texas. So it's kind of going mid part into the state. The actual cost for me was $11.70. I am going to look at a couple different options and see how that can still potentially be profitable. It was probably marginally profitable, but there might be a couple ways that we can make this work. I still haven't checked the status of how much it would cost to ship on places like UPS or FedEx. I'm straight shipping from USPS, which again, we can get into a whole other video on tips that I can tell you about shipping. If you want to hear that, put a yes in the comments below, or let me know in the comments below what you'd like me to talk about. So the second biggest lesson is that you're going to miss the mark on shipping a lot at first, but as you adjust and you start to understand, what will happen is you'll also overshoot on a lot of products and they end up balancing each other out. So you might lose a little bit money on some products in the shipping aspect of things. You might gain some money on other things. And all in all, they're going to balance out. So if you get a solid product that sells real well, just consider that and consider and look at the numbers to see if you want to continue to sell it. Sometimes it'll still be worthwhile just because things will eventually balance each other out. So that's lesson number 2. Lesson number 3 is going to be to have multiple Amazon accounts. And the reason for that is when you buy on these Amazon accounts, what'll typically happen is they'll have a number of what the maximum that you can order is. It'll show you when you're ordering. And there's a couple products that I've sold where they're selling like gangbusters, and they're just you're ripping through them, and all of a sudden they hit their 20 order maximum limit, and then you're done. You can't sell anymore. You lose momentum. So by having multiple Amazon buyer accounts, you can age those and make sure that you're ready to rock in the event that you do find that one solid product that just can rip through and start to give you multiple orders. And that's especially important when you get a product that you're making like $4 on, and they only allow you to sell like 60, and you can sell through 60 really fast. If you have multiple accounts, you can sell through not only 60, but 60 times 2 accounts, 60 times 3 accounts. The account becomes worthwhile in the case that happens, but it also becomes worthwhile in the case that Amazon just cuts you off. Sometimes they will just cut you off for one reason or another. They have their limits, and if you do certain things that they just don't like, they could just cut you off without notice, and then you're kind of screwed. So the biggest advice that I can give you is have multiple accounts. Make sure you're aging some accounts in the event that you lose an account or you hit the maximum number of products allowable for that one particular product. So that is lesson number 3 that I learned. Going into lesson 4, and I lied, I have 7. If you're very unprofitable for one item and it's listed, and somehow you made a mistake, your VA made a mistake, and it's just completely unprofitable, like very poorly unprofitable, what you can do is, and what you should do is try and get the customer to cancel this order. And so you might be saying like, oh, Liz, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. Send them an email that says something to the extent of, hey, I'm sorry, I know you ordered this product and we accidentally sent the wrong product out to you. In order to get you a refund as fast as possible, could you please do me a favor and cancel the order? And you can do that, or you can just tell them the product was damaged during the processing, and therefore the best thing to do is for you to request a refund. In that event, we can process the refund almost immediately versus me having to do it myself. When you tell them that, sometimes they're not going to pay attention to that. Sometimes they'll never read their email. They won't get that. And then you're out of options in terms of emailing them. I'll typically try and email them 3 times. If they don't answer, then what I'm going to do, if it's largely unprofitable, I'm going to do the following. If it's slightly unprofitable, I still might send them the product. But if it's largely unprofitable, what I'll do is I will send them out anything that's really cheap that I have on hand that costs me $1 or whatnot. I'll send it out. I'll ship it out to them. I'll wait till they receive it, wait till they complain, refund them, and then never send them out that original product, and make sure that original product is completely eliminated from my database. I want to make sure I don't sell it again. I don't make that same mistake. Chalk it up to just a mistake on your end, on your VA's end. It doesn't matter. Just get rid of it and move on. That's going to happen here and there. It's a growing process, and you will have a lot of those things come up. So that's the 4th lesson, I believe. It's like 4 and 5. Lesson number 6 is, if at all possible, early on, I do recommend you invest in some software to help you make the process a lot easier and just to learn the system in general. Like one of the main reasons I use this software is because it's a lot easier for me to learn as a beginner and to learn the entire process versus not having the software and having to use the API and spreadsheets to upload things. I just don't want to make it that confusing at first. I want to first learn the processes, get those down in SOP, and then if I want to and if I choose to do so, I can drop the software and move on. But I do highly recommend Ecom Circles. If you haven't already, I do recommend you check some of the other videos I've done on it, and I will continue to do them because it is very helpful specifically for a beginner. All right, and the last lesson, which is number 7, make sure that when you do start doing this whole thing, that you do create a shipping template and you give yourself a few extra days to fulfill. People always ask me like, oh, will you have enough time to fulfill this, Liz? It just seems like you wait 2 days to get it from Amazon, then you have to repackage it, then you have to ship it out, and the customer has to wait another 5 days. How does that all get handled? Well, it gets handled by extending the amount of time that you have available to ship the product out in your shipping template. If you do that, then you'll give yourself some extra time. It'll get to the customer on time. Walmart will be happy. The customer will be happy because their expectations are understood at the purchasing part of the whole process. And you'll be happy because you'll have extra time on your hands to ship this out to the customer. So that's pretty much a wrap on the biggest lessons that I've had doing the two-step drop shipping. Now, again, my email is below in case you do want to jump on a call and talk about how you can do this by yourself, have the listings done for you, or have the entire process automated. We can jump on a call and take care of that all in the span of a couple minutes. So that's it. I'll see you guys next time.